Buckeye Vodka, the #1 Ohio-made vodka, carefully handcrafted in Miami Valley and applauded for its Gold Best Buy Award, Prices and Value in the Beverage Tasting Institute, the 50 Best in New York City, New York International Spirits, and San Francisco World Spirits Competition, has announced a sponsorship with the Ohio State University Department of Athletics, and just in time for tailgating season, the Spirit of Ohio is now a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. The collaboration between these two beloved Ohio brands is a natural partnership. Now, Buckeyes fans can enjoy their favorite Ohio-made vodka at college football and basketball games. Buckeye Vodka will be available at all events throughout the year at Ohio Stadium and the Schottenstein Center. Buckeye Vodka is a family-owned and operated business making premium craft vodka that's distilled 10 times. Buckeye Vodka is hailed by fans across the state as the smoothest vodka. From its inception, Buckeye Vodka has boasted the true spirit of Ohio, rock-solid determination in the face of adversity. Buckeye Vodka fervently tests and compares every batch against the leading national brands and will not stop until it's the smoothest. This personal attention to detail ensures that each bottle of Buckeye Vodka is just as good as the last, offering top-shelf vodka without the top-shelf price. Enjoy Buckeye Vodka at your tailgates, share it at home with your friends, and ask for it by name at your favorite establishments, not just on game days, but any day you're enjoying a refreshment. The sponsored partnership between Buckeye Vodka and Ohio State University Athletics was brokered through the department's multimedia rights partner, Learfield, the media and technology company powering college athletics. Please drink responsibly. Welcome in to Says Who Sports right now, a former All-American quarterback and two-time Heisman Trophy finalist at Texas in 2008 and 2009, won numerous national awards in 2009, including the Maxwell, Davey O'Brien, Manning, and Johnny U. Golden Arm Awards, along with only Archie Griffin and O.J. Simpson, a two-time winner of the Walter Camp Award at Texas, was a third-round pick of the Cleveland Browns in the NFL Draft, and spent 14 seasons in the NFL. Now in his first season as a TV game analyst for Big Ten football on NBC Peacock, will be on the broadcast for Ohio State, Michigan State in East Lansing on Peacock Saturday night. Straight out of Tuscola, Texas, Colt McCoy joins us. Colt, good to have you here. Thanks for making the time.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for the sweet introduction. That's awesome.
Appreciate you. Colt, first things first, did I hear this right? Were you elk hunting in Utah last week?
I was. I definitely was. Playing football for so long, I grew up out in the country on the farm, and, I love to hunt and fish, and, playing football, you just don't get to do a whole lot of that. And so last week I had, when I retired, I was going to set up an elk hunt. I've always dreamed of doing that, kind of a bucket list, and it met all my expectations. It was a ton of fun.
Outstanding. Good stuff. Have you ever taken Mac Brown hunting?
No, but I've been late for meetings and because I was hunting, and Coach Brown didn't like that at all.
Gotcha. Colt, all those seasons as a quarterback, know a whole lot you do about rhythm and reps and timing and breaking down what you're seeing on the field in quick fashion. You're in the broadcast booth now, whole different learning curve. Know you're only a few broadcasts in, but how are you using, Colt, what you learned as a quarterback in your role as an analyst for NBC Peacock?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, listen, the more I can talk about football, I think the more comfortable I am, right? there's a confidence in that just comes from being around the game for so long and seeing all the looks and kind of understanding schemes and strategies. That part is fun. I think, I've only called 2 games. This will be my 3rd game, so there's a huge learning curve on how to do TV, right? You can't just be up in the booth like you're in a quarterback room. There's maybe 5% of the listeners will know what you're talking about most of the time, and 95% are like speak to me like I don't know the game, right? Like I'm talking to my wife or my mom or my grandma.
Sure.
And so there's an art to that for sure. I'm certainly learning how to do that. NBC has been great, coaching me up, helping me along, but there's definitely a learning curve. I mean, listen, I remember my first game of football. I came a long way from that first snap I took. So it's been fun. It's challenging, but I do love college football, and I do love the fact that I get to be in these great environments, these cool stadiums, especially in the Big Ten. That part is a ton of fun, and we're working to be a lot better, each week that I go out there, and really want to compliment and reward these players, these coaches from these schools, and really kind of tell you what I see, and it's been a good time so far.
Good stuff. We'll be looking forward to watching and hearing you, of course, again on Saturday night. Ohio State at Sparty in East Lansing on Peacock. Colt, as mentioned, you're from Tuscola in West Texas. Jim Ned High School, small high school. You grew up in Friday Night Lights country, right? That intensity of Texas high school football. Talk about what it was like to be part of that, Colt.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I wouldn't have, I think I wouldn't have it any other way. I went to a really small school. I still, scratch my head on how I ended up getting to go to the best university in our state. And just how I got there is pretty crazy. Played small school football, Friday Night Lights. Midland was a couple hours away. Your town shuts down. It really is awesome. I mean, I think we had a sign on our somewhere in our building that said, football is not a matter of life and death. It's so much more than that. And so,
I love it.
It's a big deal. It's fun. I played a lot of sports. 5 or 6 sports in high school because it was a small town, and everybody had to chip in and play. Loved basketball, and so when I got to UT, whatever Coach Brown saw in me, I ended up at UT, and it was great to have a year to just kind of grow and learn and have an off season and put on some weight, and kind of got a front row seat to what big time college football looks like, and that first year was very helpful for me, and then I got to play for 4 years and kind of never dreamed I'd really get to have the opportunity to play in the NFL, and then it just kind of happened, and 14 years later, I'm very thankful for the ride. Obviously didn't accomplish all your goals and all your dreams that you had set out for yourself in the NFL.
Sure.
But I had my chances and battled some injuries but to make it that long and to play in some really good organizations and make a lot of lifelong friends and coaches and teammates, and it was a ton of fun.
Colt, you were on stellar Texas teams in 08 and 09, and that 08 team, if not for last play of the game, loss on the road at Lubbock, missed out on the BCS, what was then the BCS, no playoff, of course, by fractions of a percentage. 09, you get to the BCS national championship game. You mentioned, I believe, that the 08 team, in your mind, was, even though 09 got to the BCS national championship game, that the 08 team was perhaps a bit nastier. Is that correct? Describe that.
Yeah, when I look back at college, I think the 08 team was more talented, a more veteran presence on that team, and we were really good. We certainly felt like we should have played for a national championship. I think one of the reasons why I love college football, and I think they're in a good place, is because of this 12-team playoff that's coming up, right? I mean, so the best team's going to win, you get into the 12-team playoff, you're playing good football, you got to earn the national championship. And in 2008 and 2009, it was back in the BCS system where you're 4 people in a closet somewhere voting on who gets to play where. And we left that up to them, unfortunately, losing to Texas Tech on the last second play. But it was hard to sit there and watch Oklahoma and Missouri play for a Big 12 championship when we had pretty handily beat both of those teams during the year. So that was hard. That won't happen anymore now with the structure of the playoff, which I think is great. So it'll be a fun post Thanksgiving college football season to see kind of how this all plays out.
Absolutely, some great stuff coming in the next several weeks, that's for sure. As mentioned, you were drafted in the 3rd round by the Browns. Entered a tough situation. Eric Mangini was the head coach. No disrespect to Eric whatsoever, but the team was just not good. It was a bad situation. You played 3 years in Cleveland, played for multiple head coaches, a lot of changes in a short period of time. But what has struck me is you've said you didn't play well enough. You've said no excuses. When I look back at that opportunity in Cleveland, you've said simply you were not good enough. Talk about not making excuses as a player in any situation, even if you may have a convenient excuse.
Yeah, look, I mean, the NFL is awesome. I love everything about it. But when the ball touches your hand, you got to make some plays. And in Cleveland, we didn't do that as much. And once I left Cleveland, I sort of had a better view or picture of my time there. Because when you're there, I was just consumed with figuring out a way to win and how to play better and what the things that we need to do. And there was a lot of change. There was a lot. We had the team sold. I had 2 owners. I had 3 head coaches. That's a lot when you're a young player, and
sure.
That presents a lot of challenges. But again, like that's not an excuse, right? I can't be mad at how Cleveland went because I know every day I gave it every ounce of me, and I wanted it more than anybody else. But it is what it is, and I think, the way my career played out, I had many opportunities basically everywhere I went. I struggled staying healthy throughout my career, and that was always a tough pill to swallow. And I didn't really deal with that in college until my very last game. So I learned a bunch. I take those experiences and I certainly leaned on them, when I left Cleveland and in some of the other places I went and played. And I love Cleveland. I really do. I love the people there. I love the fans. I love the organization. I think Jimmy Haslam is doing a great job. And I never wanted to leave, but I think for me and for my career and kind of how it all panned out, it was probably best. And the other thing is when I went to Cleveland, I wasn't fully healthy. I almost came out my junior year, and I had been told I was going to be a mid to late first round pick, and really contemplated that back and forth, and ultimately decided to come back for my senior year. And I think that probably wouldn't have changed. I think that probably would have been the case had I not gotten hurt in the national championship game. And so just coming in kind of banged up, and probably could have used a year to get fully healthy. But as a competitor, you always want to play, and Jake gets hurt, and so you're like, man, I'm ready, put me in, like I'll make it happen. And so I learned a lot from that approach and from my time there, but certainly wish we could have won more games. And playing long enough, my dad was a coach growing up. Like, you don't ever want to see people get fired. You don't ever want to go through that change. Coaches, I got a soft spot in my heart for coaches, and it was kind of so it's not just me. It was tough for everybody. So, but you live and you learn and you grow from those experiences, and very thankful for, I think my approach now is I'm thankful and grateful for, being able to play for so long. There's a lot of guys that they get banged up or get in a bad situation, and it just kind of the door kind of closes. And for me, I just found a way to keep working and keep training and keep getting better in different phases of my game. And when I came off the bench and played, most of the time I played well and had my chances to start, and battled some injuries, and So it's all good, and very, very thankful for it all.
Absolutely, and well said. And few people, relatively speaking, spend that many years in the league. And as you mentioned, from a starting perspective, and you started plenty of games in the NFL, but in terms of the backup thing, as you said, much of that had to do with, unfortunately, being injured or not being able to stay healthy for long stretches. But you're in the league that long, Colt. You kind of mentioned it there with work ethic. What were the keys that allowed you to stick in the NFL that long? Let's face it, there are many first rounders, high picks that might get a few years, and for whatever reason can't figure it out. Something happens. How'd you make it stick for so long?
Yeah, great question. It's a tough game, right? And it's I had to learn how to play the game not the way you played it in college, right? You got to be accurate. I think my biggest attribute all throughout those years was I was accurate with the football, and I could put it where I wanted to put it most times, and that's number one. Number two, I think, is just having a good grasp of your scheme and what you're going against, and I always felt like my edge was not my. I was athletic and I could make some plays, but my edge was understanding what we do against what you do, and learning how to operate in that. And I was well coached. I think when I got to Washington after my first 4 years, I got with Sean McVay and Jay Gruden, and man, we became really close, all of us, and I really kind of rejuvenated my love for the game and the X's and O's, and things started making sense to me, and they asked me to do some things that I probably wasn't that good at the time, but I got a lot better at, and just really raised the level of my game in ways that I hadn't really been pushed to do, and it helped me a ton. It helped me a ton, and so I will always credit moving to Virginia and playing for the Redskins as a time where I loved football then, or again I should say, and the way we approached it and how we called. I always played good when Jay or Sean called the plays, even Kevin O'Connell, like that. Those are some great football coaches, great leaders. Those are really, in my opinion, the best guys in the league even now. And having 7 years with those guys was instrumental for me as a quarterback.
Well said. Great insight. Appreciate that, Colt. Just a bit more on the NFL, and then I want to shift to the primetime college football and the playoff thing before you have to go. Colt, was the NFL tougher during your run than it is now? When you were there, that run, teams could still, for example, have back-to-back practices in helmets, and now a lot of guys, frankly, don't even seem to want to put the helmets on. A lot of changes to the game, obviously, in a seeming short period of time to make the NFL safer, and I respect that, of course, but is it softer, Colt? For example, I had a former longtime NFL player tell me, he said, I still love the game of football, but I hate what they're doing to the game. Your thoughts?
Yeah, listen, it's still football, and it's still the biggest, fastest, strongest men in the world. That's the reality. And those guys are getting bigger and stronger and faster every year. But the game has changed. I played through 3 CBAs when I first came in. We were having 2-a-days, and it was hard, real hard. And it was your old school playing in the AFC North. Look, Pittsburgh won a Super Bowl, the Ravens won a Super Bowl, right? The Bengals were always good. That was my introduction, playing against Troy Polamalu and Ed Reed and these guys like that. You don't see that anymore. There's not that out there. The hard hitting, the trash talking, the intensity of those games was a lot. And then I move some teams and you move on in the league. The game's just different. You're not seeing the big 4-3 defenses with big linebackers and D tackles and nose guards and hard hitting safeties. You're seeing nickel defense. You're seeing speed. You're seeing smaller athletic linebackers. The game has fully changed. And so it's cool to like play through that and see where it is now. But I think the influence of college football is starting to sprinkle into the NFL. There's a lot of like bubble screens and get the ball out quick, and not as much like downhill power, playing with a fullback, like hard hitting point of attack style football. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that things are offenses would rather go up tempo and high speed than really get up to the line of scrimmage and like evaluate and alert and make checks and calls to get you in the right situation and do that over and over. Huddle. There's a lot more of that high pace. Like the quarterbacks are a little bit different, right? When I was early on, it was the drop back. Ben Roethlisberger's, Peyton Manning's, Drew Brees's, Eli Manning. Those guys who just operated and pushed the ball down the field and controlled the game. Now it's running quarterbacks, more zone read, more scramble plays, get out of the pocket versus different looks. Like it is a whole lot different. But at the end of the day, it's the highest of the high. It's the NFL, so it's like it's the best. It's the best out there, and it's still fun to watch for me. But you evolve and you kind of you learn the trends and how to play and how to hang on and the journey was pretty awesome.
So well said, Colt. Great insight. Just a couple more for you, and spinning back to the glorious college football front. So much interest, so much attention. The ratings are continue to soar. You're coming in from a broadcast booth perspective at a perfect time after having played during some glory years. On the NIL front for a moment, Colt, getting seriously paid, if you think about that, I mean, talk about a star profile position, a premium position like starting quarterback at Texas. And of course, Quinn Ewers now, Arch Manning, those types of guys pick a university power program. But when you think back to your 20-year-old self at Texas, knowing what you know now, what would driving a Lamborghini around campus have been like, Colt? I mean, let alone seeing one on campus, but you being the one driving it, what do you think that would do to your ego?
Yeah, probably not very good. It is different, right? It's, I still don't fully understand it. But listen, it's like, you go to college, you become a pre-med, pre-law, pre-something, right? That's what college is. It's pre-NFL, right? That's what these guys are there for.
Sure.
And so I'm not mad at it. I'm thankful that the players, get a chance to be compensated for how they play. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of time involved in it, but it is different. I don't fully understand it. I don't get it, but I think, for me, I think if you're just talking about the quarterback position, it's like, I really admire the way Arch has handled it all. I mean, sitting and waiting your time, and it's not really the cool thing to do. There's a lot of money out there. There's a lot of places you can go. But I think these young quarterbacks, if they would take a picture of what's going on across the league and have a sort of like a 30,000-foot view to this, like pick a place, you're going to get paid. Like if you can wait your time and you love your system and a good coach and you like where you are, just wait. Just play your last couple years and you're getting compensated for it. I mean, look at Bo Nix, right? He played 6 years, became a first-round draft pick.
Great
right?
point.
Like you look at like Miller Moss, you look at Nussmeier, you look at Arch eventually. Like these guys waited a long time to play. They've developed, they've grown, they've learned, they're stepping in and playing really good football. They'll probably get drafted. Right, so it's like not all about should I transfer? Where can I play? I got to get out of here. I got to be on bigger and better, greener grass. Like, hold on, like take advantage of the system and NIL, and not just chase the chance to make more money or get a start. Right, think about your opportunity and where that is and who you're coached by and those sort of things. I'm not telling anybody how to do it, but I'm just looking at it from that perspective, and I think that's a smart approach.
Well said, and so appreciate the time you've taken with us here, Colt. Some great insight and perspectives. Lastly, bringing it back again to you in East Lansing, Saturday night for the Buckeyes and Sparty on Peacock. Your Longhorns are in that mix from a strong position as of now. It looks like they may be. We'll see what happens with all of these teams. But size up this playoff era of college football. Colt, we talk NIL, guys getting paid, etc. But as we get into these coming weeks, the next several weeks, couple of months, huge stakes games, any interest in what guys are making, getting paid, etc., it takes a big back seat, right, to the biggest thing, which is get it done and win the national championship. Your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly. That's always the approach I had, right, is win. That's why I came back my senior years, because I felt like we were going to be young, but we could work our way to getting back to the national championship, and that's ultimately the goal every year. And so, yeah, I'm calling the Michigan State-Ohio State game this weekend. It's Ohio State's first game on the road. They've played at home the first 3 weeks. They got a new quarterback. They've got a very talented team across the board, a lot of veteran players. It's an older team. Like, this senior class, right, is hungry. They really haven't won a championship, which is hard to think about when you think of Ohio State football. And so just talking to them, they're in a really good place and excited to call that game. I think Michigan State is they could very easily be 4-0. They went to Maryland, got a huge win. Aiden Childs is a very dynamic quarterback, can make a lot of plays. I think their defense is sound. New football coach, like they're a fun team to watch, and it'll be a great environment. And I'm looking forward to being in the booth for my third game. I think there's some ways that I've improved. Not want to make it about me, but I think it'll be a great game and certainly fun for us and for NBC to call this one.
Awesome stuff, Colt. Colt McCoy, a Longhorn legend. Again, very much appreciate you, Colt, sharing your perspectives. Thanks again for taking the time with us at Says Who Sports. Stay well. We'll be listening to you and watching on Saturday night on Peacock.
Okay, sounds good, man. Thank you.